Hello, internet world. I'm still getting over this flu. Anyway, so I was thinking, with Trump wanting to confiscate guns, yet people think it's okay to continue to vote to confiscate guns, as if voting the same way is going to get different results. Makes a lot of sense. I was thinking about, I got my bug out bag and stuff out, and I had put something into my my medical kit. I made a video about that, and I was thinking, your best bug out kit would be an 18th century long hunter's kit. That's all you need. Think about how much they carried with them and how they were able to survive out in the wilderness for weeks and months at a time with very little. They'd have a haversack, a bedroll. They may or may not have had a tarp, because frankly you can take your bedroll, your blanket, it's made out of wool, and even if it's raining it's going to keep you warm. So you really, you have your shooting pouch, or possibles bag, as some people call it, your powder horn, your flintlock, and your haversack. What more do you need? I mean, if you think about it, what more do you need? What did I do here? Because I lit a candle earlier. These run out of fuel, right? How about flint and steel? A flint's eventually going to need to be replaced. You can usually find flint or something acceptable out there in the wilderness, right? When it comes to clothing, footwear, kill a deer, kill a bear, kill a moose, kill an elk. You could take squirrel skins and sew them together. I guess if you had to, you could take chipmunk skins and sew them together. And during the winter time, Survival Lily, I recommend her channel. She built what she calls a super shelter. What she has set up, my only problem with it is that it's visible, it's easily seen. Although the woods where she built it they're not as dense as, say, our forest is. So if you get far enough out in this area, which would be further north than where we are, you could build one of those. If you do it right, it would be very difficult to see. It really would. I'm going to provide a link to Townsend's, or James Townsend Sons. I cannot get that. Of course, I can't see very well right now. Like I said, I'm still getting over the flu. I don't know how my wife sleeps, all my hacking and coughing. But so for footwear, moccasins. You take that deer, you can make moccasins. You can make a shirt. You can make a breechcloth. You can make leggings. You can make a hat. And dressed that way, although if somebody sees you walking down the street, you're going to be very, very noticeable. But if you're out there in the woods, because all the colors that are on you are subdued, you're just going to tend to blend in which is kind of what you want to do, right? And you know, you can make traps out of stones and logs. You can use modern traps, steel like leg traps. I don't recommend them, but you know, if you're in a survival situation, right? In a flintlock rifle, right there you have an ignition source for starting fires, although I wouldn't use my rifle flints that way, unless it was an absolute emergency. But you also have a means of self-defense. You have a means to get to obtain food, a signaling device. Your powder horn gives you something to carve on, to engrave, to scrimshaw, gives you something to do. So the 18th century long hunter was a true outdoorsman. Like I said, they had their shooting pouch and their haversack and the clothes they had on, and maybe a blanket and a tarp, and that was it. And they did just fine. In the winter time, you have to modify that, of course, but you know, that's so I'm thinking, instead of spending all that money on modern equipment, which will have to be replaced, and in order to replace the modern equipment, you have to go to the store, right? Well, a lot of the 18th century stuff, like for the clothing, for the food, it's right there. It's called a deer or an elk or a moose. So hey, why not, right? So I think the best survivalist, best bug out kit is the 18th century kit, and that's what I've decided. Now, of course, you can modify it with some modern equipment, like a modern rifle, a modern pistol, with modern ammunition. But I think that's actually the way to go. And for me, instead of going off and buying a bunch of new stuff to replace whatever I've lost or misplaced with my modern bug out kit, I'll just go with my 18th century kit. It works better. It's more versatile. It's easier to deal with. There are far fewer pieces that go to it. You know, like I said, you know, lighters, the fuel will run out. Matches will eventually run out. And what if you have wet matches? You know, steel and flint and steel. So that is that is my opinion, and you know, it's an idea that I hope some people will. I hope some people will watch this video and that they will get some ideas from it. And now, like I said, you know, there is the problem of looking way out of place. You know, because people don't dress that way anymore now, do they? Well, reenactors do, so therefore I do. But if you go into a town or a city or a village, you will be noticed. But I'm thinking here long term, out in the wilderness. The kitten's watching the candle. It's kind of freaking her out. Anyway, long term in the wilderness, that's the perfect kit. That'll keep you alive. it'll keep you somewhat comfortable, and that's the way to go. So I have a cup of hot cocoa right here. I happen to have some pemmican that I made, actually quite a bit of it, that I haven't used yet. It doesn't really go bad, and mine is in the freezer just for, you know, to keep it from going bad, just in case. I want to make some more pemmican, but I haven't done that in a long time. And one thing I don't have is a working flintlock rifle. So what I really want is a .62 caliber, which I think is a 12 gauge flintlock smoothbore, but those are way too expensive for me. Even a pre-built 50 caliber flintlock rifle is expensive, but I could come up with the money for it. It would just take a little while. So that's my opinion. What's yours?